Welcome to this week's real estate deal breakdown. Today I'm going to talk about a wholesale deal that just closed 2 days ago in Cornwall, New York. It was a phenomenal deal. In terms of baseball, this would have been a triple, which is just a little bit worse than a home run, but this one was an interesting deal. I'm going to tell you how we found the deal. I'm going to tell you some challenges we ran into, and then I'll give you some lessons that you can take from this so you can apply this in your business. But before I get started, if you get value from this video or this podcast, however you're consuming this, if you could do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, and if you're listening to the audio version of this, if you could share this show with someone else, it would really mean a lot to me. So let's get into the nuts and bolts today. So this was an address on Mailer Avenue in Cornwall, New York. I'm not going to give the specific house out for confidentiality purposes. And the way that this lead came about our radar was from another investor, thanks to videos like this, thanks to people who watch my social media. They see my videos, they see my Instagram posts, and they know that if they have a property in New York, I'm the guy to go to, hopefully. So they reached out to me on Instagram, and they said that they live in New Hampshire, and they have a property lead from a seller who's down in the Hudson Valley. Long story short, after the investor gave me the lead, me and my team took it from there. We got the sister on board. We got her in agreement with what she wanted for the price, which was basically to pay the mortgage off and get a little bit of money on top of that. And we were able to deliver that. This house was in really bad shape. I actually went out there myself with my girlfriend, and we walked around the property. She actually got inside, which is pretty funny. Got it under contract, got a bunch of pictures. I sent it out to the buyers I have in the Hudson Valley, which in my opinion is the best buyers list in the entire market because we've been around for 10 years. Shameless plug there. If you have a deal you want to wholesale with me, hit me up. Anyway, got somebody to pay $60,000 more than we had it under contract with the owner with. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that's a triple wholesale. So we got the buyer locked up. We got the seller locked up. We have a 60K spread in the middle. You'd think at this point it's easy, but it's not. So this is some of the challenges we ran into on this transaction. First of all, it had to go through probate, and the owner needed to hire an attorney in order to do that. And in New York, it sometimes can take a long time. So this one, I believe we got it under contract in January, I would say, and it closed in June. So literally the probate took like 5.5 months and then another, couple weeks to get the actual transaction closed. So, when you're doing deals and they have to go through probate, expect them to take a while, right? They generally take 3 to 6 months in New York for a property to fully go through probate. So we had to wait around for that. That was our first challenge, keeping everyone at bay while we're waiting for the courts to approve the sale. And now here is where the next lesson was learned. So about a week before we were supposed to, actually, there's multiple mistakes on this property. The first one was we had a closing scheduled, and then there was a title issue that came up with the mortgage, and then that closing got delayed. And then we had another closing lined up, and then we found out we couldn't close again because the physical payoff had to be there, and they couldn't accept an e-copy. This is the title company, which is stupid, but it is what it is. And so then we had a third closing lined up, and then in between the second and third closing, the buyer went into the property without my permission or the seller's permission, ended up getting the neighbors chasing him out of the property, and then they ended up calling the police. And then the police literally chased the buyer into the next town and almost arrested them for trespassing, which is so stupid. So that was a little snafu that happened, and the seller wasn't happy. And I don't blame her for being mad at me because ultimately, I'm wholesaling her house and, it's my responsibility. So I take full ownership for that. So that was a snafu. And we ended up getting the deal closed 2 days ago and made $60,000. And we had about $2K in legal fees. So ended up getting like $58,000 or whatever the case might be. So awesome deal. Win-win situation. What are some lessons you can learn on this deal so you can apply this in your business? Well, lesson number one, don't get buyers to go to properties without your permission or with the seller's permission, because this is what happens when that occurs. Neighbors get nosy. They call the cops. The cops chase people. It's a crazy circus. So if the buyer needs access or you need access and you don't own the property yet, ask the seller first and communicate. You can always communicate more and more and more. And if you under-communicate, that's when problems arise. So communicate with the seller if you need access before you own the property, which is an obvious lesson, but sometimes the obvious stuff isn't so obvious. Lesson number two, when you have inherited vacant properties, the spreads are big, right? Most of the properties we do that are vacant, inherited properties are big, fat, juicy spreads, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 deals. I did one that was a vacant inherited property, made $350,000. Now, does that happen all the time? No. But when you have a vacant house that needs work and the owner is out of state, generally they will sell it for cheap. And then the third lesson here, you got to work with other investors. You got to collaborate with your competition. You got to put yourself out there on social media like this video. And when you tell people what you do and where you do it, i.e., I buy houses in the Hudson Valley, and if you have a deal, send it to me, other people will see it and you will get business from that. So that's the property on Mailer Avenue in Cornwall. I hope you got value from this. Shameless plug. If you got a house in the Hudson Valley and you're a wholesaler or you're a seller, or you're in Seattle or you're in Delaware and you have a house you want to wholesale to me, I will buy it directly. Or if you want to wholesale it with me like this one, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, or send me a DM on Instagram, and I'll see you on the next REI Deal Breakdown. Take care.